Happy Wednesday, guys. Because today's Wednesday, we're going to be working on iambic pentameter. So let me go ahead and click in here and show you what it looks like. We're doing IN notes today, so you're going to need to open up your own. You can either open up the PowerPoint or the Google link, whichever one's easiest for you to access. Remember, they're exactly the same. And you need to make sure that when you send them back to me completed, that it is your own work. So from now on, when I'm working online, mine will have a watermark on it and yours should not. If you send me a picture or screenshot or something from PowerPoint or Google that has my watermarks on it, you will receive a 0. You are supposed to be filling this out on your own. And so I just want to make sure that you guys are going to these links. They look exactly the same other than the watermarks. So go ahead and open up yours while I open up mine. And these are the watermarks that I'm talking about. So you should not have this when you turn in yours. If you do send them in like that, you will be getting a 0. Remember at the beginning of the year when I told you guys that I needed to see if you were taking a screenshot, that I needed to see that you were signed in as yourself. And some of you guys are great and still put your own name on stuff, which is perfectly great. And then I know right away that is yours. Please make sure that you're signed in here, or that it's incredibly obvious that it's yours, or put your name on it. But definitely don't turn in any pictures of my work, because you will get a 0. So let's go ahead and get started. Iambic pentameter is the way that Shakespeare wrote most of Romeo and Juliet. And basically why I'm showing this is because rhythm or meter is an important element of poetry. And we're going to go through all of this, and I want you to practice writing your own iambic pentameter, which is this part that you'll be doing on your own today. So let's go ahead and take our notes. And the first thing we're going to do is look at iambic and pentameter completely separately so you can understand it. So let's go ahead and use this. And I've already set you up so that you have a bullet point. And so an iamb is an unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable. So we're going to go ahead and write that in. And what I mean by stressed is the way that it's spoken. And we'll go over that before we'll actually look at an iambic pentameter, so I can show you what I mean by stressed and unstressed. But before we do that, let's say the words. I want you to write this down. Say the words between, mature, and instead. All three of those examples are iambs. In poetry, rhythmic units are called feet. An iamb is a kind of a foot. Okay, so remember I said it's an unstressed followed by a stressed. So when you say between, mature, see how chur is a little bit more stressed. Instead, stead is a little bit louder, has a little bit different of a sound to it. Now let's look at the word pentameter. A pentameter means that the foot is repeated 5 times. And remember, the foot is the iamb, right? So if we were saying mature, 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 that is an iambic pentameter because mature is an iamb and we've said it 5 times, right? That doesn't mean, so when we're reading like Shakespeare's writing, it doesn't mean that we're repeating the same word 5 times. It's the sound of it, the A, B, A, B, A, B. So we're going to break down the word pentameter. So it has the Greek root penta. And I'm going to italicize this. You can like change the color or something to make it stand out to you. Which means 5. So kind of like Pentagon, like in the government. That's 5 sides. So just as a reminder, we're going to go ahead and write that down. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put the terms together, iamb and pentameter. So iambic pentameter is a line of poetry with 5 iambs in it. And then I'm going to change this and make it a little bit smaller so we can put a couple more things in there. Okay, so it has this kind of rhythm, and I'm gonna, when I type this out, I'm gonna put it in italics, right? So it goes da dum, da dum, da dum, da dum, da dum. So we're gonna write that out. Da dum, da dum. It doesn't mean that the word is da dum. It's the way that it sounds, okay? So let's go ahead and look under for number 2, part 2. Who uses iambic pentameter? So here's the thing. Iambic pentameter is one of the most common meters in poetry. And then obviously William Shakespeare uses it, and that's why we're going over it. So we're going to write down William Shakespeare is famous for using it in both his plays and his poems. And then remember I told you earlier we were going to look at an actual example. So these are the first 4 lines of his sonnet. And I'm going to go ahead and read that. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease has all too short a date. So we're going to clap out the rhythms, and that's how I teach, like even how I teach breaking down a word like pentameter. How many syllables does it have? Pentameter. It has 4, ironically, even though it's talking about something that has 5, right? So we're going to do the same kind of thing with that we do with syllables that we're going to do with the sonnet. So shall I compare thee to a summer's day? You see how it's broken down in different ways. So right here is my example. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? And notice summer is split up because it's split up according to the foot or feet in the iambs, the way that it sounds, and not the words themselves. So it's kind of, you have to look at it differently, right? So if we look at thou art more lovely and more temperate, thou art, there's one, more love, there's one, lee, and there's another one, more temperate. So temperate is actually 3 syllables. So more and tem go together and perit go together. And you would be able to separate them all out. Each one of these is 5 iambs. That's why they're iambic pentameter. What I want you to do is draw slashes in each line above to show how they break into iambs. So I'm going to do these first 2 with you because we already did it out loud. Let me go ahead. So the easiest way to do this is to use the draw tool. If you couldn't figure it out when we did the drawing on this stage last week, then you can print this and write it in, or you could maybe put in, you can actually click in here like this, click on top of it and add in this, and then kind of drag it over like this. There's all different kinds of ways to do that. And then maybe instead of underlining, you can like highlight it. However you need to do it is fine, but I'm going to go ahead and just draw it in. I'm going to make sure I'm not using something too fat. Okay. And then I'm just going to choose, let's choose blue, or no, let's choose green for Lakeside. All right. So now I know that it's actually drawing. So the same thing here. Remember what I told you, underline the stressed syllables and then draw on the slashes. So I'm going to draw on the slashes first. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Now, the emphasized ones would be shall I compare thee to a summer's day? And then we'll do the same thing with the second line. Thou art more love. Actually, let me undo that one. Thou art more lovely and more temperate. And then let's underline the emphasized one. Art, love, and tem, and then et. And you're going to do the same thing with the last 2 lines. So in order to get full credit for this assignment, make sure that you do all 4 lines. Now remember, you can do it like I just did, drawing it in, or you can literally, remember when you're done drawing, you need to click on draw or it's going to keep drawing. The other way to do it is literally to click in here on either Google Slides or PowerPoint and just put your thing in. And then you can just like, oops, I didn't mean to do that. I want to drag the whole thing. Rough winds. So you'd put it like that, right? And then to underline, you could literally just like say insert and then a line, excuse me, would be under shape and then draw in your line. I would want it to be a little bit bigger. Once you fix it once, it's fine. I meant thicker, and then I could put it on. So rough winds, the emphasized one would be winds. So you could do it either way. It's way easier to just draw it in, but I know some of you guys are using Office 365 and it doesn't necessarily have that particular tool. So I'm showing you here that you can do it just by adding in lines and slashes too. You could also in draw, or let me show you a different way. So in draw, you could definitely highlight, but if you don't have the draw tool, then another way you could do it is say like insert a shape let's do like a rectangle. And then in order to highlight something, you need to change the transparency of that. So I would change it to like, I don't know, we could still use the same blue, I guess. Let me switch that. Then what you want to do is change its transparency. So I'm going to say format the shape, and then it's fill, and then I have to change the transparency so it looks more like a highlight. Now, if I put it over something, I can still see it. So say I wanted to highlight wins instead of underline, if that's easier for you, then you could do it like that. And then you can literally go command copy, command paste, and do the same things with the other ones that you want to highlight instead of underline. Regardless if all that's too much, take a screenshot of it if you have an iPad and just draw it in with your finger and mark up. Okay. All right. The next thing you're going to do on this is what you're going to be doing all alone, is that you're coming up with your own iambic pentameter. So I want you to create your own poem using iambic pentameter. And if you don't get the rhythm right or the number of syllables at first, think about how you can rephrase your thoughts or use different words to express yourself. And then I want you to write it in on these lines. It doesn't have to rhyme. Okay. It can literally just be some sentences. The whole point of this is for you to show me that you understand what iambic pentameter is. So I might say, like, as a joke, like, let me think of my name, Miss Gonzalez. It has 4. So you could literally put in, remember, you have to separate the two. You're not doing this. I'm just giving you an example. So I might say Miss Gon. And then over here, I'd have to put in the rest of the name. Zal is gives me too much class work. I don't really think that. It was just super easy thing to put in. So you can actually separate these out. So Miss Gonzalez gives me too much classwork. And that kind of breaks it down into 5 different iams. The only thing is, gives me too much classwork. Actually, I think the iams work well too. So you can literally kind of make it all go together. I don't want you to use the example that I gave you, but see how it doesn't rhyme with anything. The next one doesn't have to rhyme with that. It's more about you showing me you understand what iambic pentameter is. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out for a second in case you need to take a screenshot and fill in your own notes later. Please don't forget, if you turn in my work with my watermark, you are getting a 0. You need to do your own.